Today on thetruthaboutcars.com, we are out here taking a look at the 2015 Volkswagen Beetle. Now, if it wasn't obvious by taking a look at it, the Beetle sells primarily on style because Volkswagen sells the very closely related Jetta in the United States as well. This is the second generation of Volkswagen's new Beetle. So we have the engine up front, not in back like we found in Herbie in 1967, and we have a more angular style in this second generation than the first generation, helping it look a little bit more masculine, I'm told. Now we still get the round headlamps here, but they are a little bit more oval than they were in the past, a little bit less enticing to put eyelashes on. The shape is unmistakably Beetle, including these retro wheels that are a combination alloy wheel with a shiny chrome plastic hubcap on top. We have this definite kink going on right here in this second generation new Beetle, which helps give it this more aggressive profile on the side. If you recall, that first generation new Beetle was very, very round all the way around. Also paying homage to the classic shape are these definite fender flares, front and rear, but you'll notice that the tail lamp modules are less round than they were before. They're a little bit more teardrop shaped, giving it a slightly more aggressive look in the back as well. Under the front of the Beetle, we have three engines to choose from. There's a new 1.8-liter turbocharged engine producing 170 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. That's the one we're driving this week. You'll average almost 30 miles per gallon depending on how you drive it. You can get this with either a 5-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic. There is still a 2-liter turbo diesel, but it's a brand new one as well. It produces 150 horsepower and 236 pound-feet of torque. That one gets either a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed DSG. Same transmissions that you'll find on the optional 2-liter turbocharged gasoline engine, essentially borrowed from the current generation GTI, producing 210 horsepower and 207 pound-feet of torque. I don't find the front seats in the Beetle quite as comfortable as the Volkswagen Golf, and both of those are a little bit less comfortable than the Mini Cooper, especially if you get the optional seats in the Mini Cooper that have the extending thigh cushion, etc. However, we do get adjustable lumbar support, and we have a tilt telescopic steering column with a decent range of motion. These seats are more comfortable than you'll find in something like the Fiat 500. Even though the Beetle's profile has changed for this generation, I still have a very generous amount of headroom up here, 1 more inch than you'll find in the Volkswagen Golf, even though we do have the optional sunroof. Now in the back, we find less legroom and less headroom than you'll find in the Golf, even though this is right about the same size outside. If you are at the Volkswagen dealer taking a look at the Beetle and also taking a look at the Golf, which is right on the same lot, you will notice that the Golf has a nicer feeling interior. The Beetle has these sections of hard plastic that are body color painted, which are a little bit attractive and definitely give this a retro flavor. However, all the rest of the plastics you'll encounter are also hard. So all these plastics on the door right here in this section are hard. We have a soft touch armrest right here. But all the rest of the plastics in this cabin are a lot harder than you'll find in the Volkswagen Golf. We do have two very handy glove boxes here, though. We have an upper one right there and a lower one right down there below it. In the center of the dashboard, we still find Volkswagen's older family of infotainment systems, manual climate control right there, a very traditional shifter, and then 2 large cup holders. Unfortunately, one is blocked by this armrest. On the driver's side, we have a traditional 3-dial instrument cluster, and then we have the same Volkswagen steering wheel we see in a wide variety of Volkswagen models. Out on the road, the first thing you'll notice about this Volkswagen is that it's not the new Golf and it's not the new GTI. It's not actually related either, because this is running on the new MQB platform, not the old Golf platform, which is what this one is using right here. That means that the handling doesn't feel quite as crisp, but we actually get a little bit more steering feel. Steering feedback in the new generation Golf is the definite low point in that vehicle, but everything else really excels about that new Golf. So it feels crisper out on the road. It actually feels a little bit more connected, even though the steering is numb. The responsiveness of the engine, etc., is a little bit better because the Golf is lighter as well. Acceleration happened in 7.5 seconds in the Beetle. It will be a hair faster in the Golf, again, because it loses a little bit of weight, but also I think because of the way the transmission seems to be tuned. I'm not exactly sure if it's the learning ability of this 6-speed automatic transmission, but it seems a little bit more sluggish in its shifts than in the Golf. Of course, the GTI versus the Beetle R-Line is going to be a bigger difference because of the extra features you can get in that Golf. The biggest difference, however, is the ride. This Beetle is definitely tuned towards the softer side of things, which means we get a decent amount more body roll and tip and dive going on in this cabin than we do in the Golf or in the Fiat 500, or really honestly in the Mini Cooper as well. On the flip side, that makes the Beetle an awful lot more comfortable for long highway trips, something that I wouldn't really want to do in the Fiat 500. And if you're going to do that in the Mini Cooper, then you need to get these softer suspension options. Fuel economy has been absolutely excellent in the Beetle. I've been averaging between 28.5 and 30 miles per gallon in very mixed driving this week, But yet again, this is an area where the Golf shines just a little bit brighter than the Beetle, because you will get about 2 to 3 miles per gallon better in the current generation Golf with the 1.8-liter turbocharged engine than we get in this particular model. If you're shopping around on the Volkswagen lot, this feels much more similar to the current generation Volkswagen Jetta out on the road than the current generation Golf. Current generation Golf just feels a little bit more grown up, a little bit more luxurious, a little bit more connected to the driver out on the road. It shares an awful lot of its suspension structure and design with the Audi A3. Because the Fiat 500 has such a short wheelbase, it feels quite different out on the road. This feels a little bit more similar to the Mini Cooper. But the big difference you'll notice between this and the Mini Cooper really is the 4-cylinder engine versus the new 3-liter turbo that we get in the Mini. That 3-liter turbo in the Mini is a BMW engine, but it is not as smooth as I had expected. It's definitely not as smooth as Ford's EcoBoost 1-liter 3-cylinder engine. I think that may be because of the displacement, but any way you slice it, this 1.8-liter 4-cylinder is a lot more pleasing to the ear and a lot less rough out on the road. For 2015, the pricing is fairly straightforward. This 1.8-liter turbocharged model starts at $20,695 for the 5-speed manual transmission equipped model. If you want the TDI, that starts at $25,330. The R-Line starts a little bit higher at $25,450. The model we've been taking a look at is $27,805. It's an almost fully equipped automatic transmission version with the 1.8-liter turbocharged engine. If you load your hardtop Beetle all the way up, you'll end up just around $32,000. Comparisons are a little bit tricky because aside from comparing this with its own stablemates, the Jetta and the Volkswagen Golf, you really only can compare this to the Fiat 500, perhaps a Mini Cooper, something along those lines. They aren't really the same kind of vehicle, but they're the same sort of premise. And that premise is putting form and styling above practicality. Because when we take a look at the Volkswagen Golf, it's a little bit less exciting looking on the outside, but we get more rear legroom, more rear headroom, and about 33% more cargo room in the back for essentially the same price. Speaking of price, this slots right between the Fiat 500 and the Mini Cooper in terms of overall price. This will be a few $1,000s more expensive than a comparably equipped Fiat 500 and up to $10,000 less expensive than a comparably equipped Mini. There was a time where the Beetle was the discount entry in the segment, but that's not really true anymore. You now have to pay a little bit extra for the retro style going on here. That's most obvious when you take a look at this compared to the Volkswagen Jetta. The Jetta will be more practical, you'll get an extra seat in the back, you actually get more cargo room as well, and it's going to be less expensive than a comparable Beetle. Volkswagen's Golf, which has a much nicer interior, it's also based on Volkswagen's new global platform called the MQB platform, is only about $100 more expensive or $100 less expensive depending on how you configure it. You get an extra seat, you get more cargo room, and you get a nicer interior and more modern infotainment options. If you get the GTI versus the R-Line version of the Beetle, you'll also notice that you get more options available in that Golf that you can't get here, like a dynamic suspension system, etc. Overall, if you're after the style, then the Beetle is a good buy, but if you're after just one of the better Volkswagens available on the market, skip the Beetle and get the brand new Volkswagen Golf instead. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Again, I'm Alex Dykes with thetruthaboutcars.com, and this has been the 2015 Volkswagen Beetle. Go ahead and click that subscribe button so you can be updated on all of our latest videos, and I'll see you next week.